Hey everybody, I'm Emily here for Busuu, the award-winning language learning app, and we're here talking language learning tips. Today, I'm going to be chatting with Carl about his experience learning Japanese as a German. Carl is from Germany, and he currently lives in Tokyo, and he documents his experiences in Japan on his YouTube channel, German in Japan. Today, we're going to be talking about what he found hard, what was surprisingly easy, and what he recommends for learners, German or otherwise, thinking about picking up Japanese. Let's get started. Hey Carl! Hi! Thanks for meeting me.
No problem. Thank you for the opportunity.
So Carl, how long have you been living in Japan and how long have you been working on your Japanese?
So this month is exactly 3 years that I've been in Japan. And I have been studying Japanese also for exactly 3 years.
Wow. Cool. So you
Yes.
really you moved there and you were learning Japanese and it was like threw yourself into the deep end.
Yes.
What sorts of things did you do when you were first starting learning Japanese? Did you take classes? Did you use any apps, anything like that?
So basically, for me, I really wanted to first dive into the culture. So
Yeah.
I actively decided not to take classes, but to move into a share house and live together with Japanese people. And from there on, I just studied by myself. So I would wake up early in the morning before breakfast, study Japanese, and then try to wait and eat breakfast with my Japanese housemates, and then just try to use the its and bits that I just learned and try to just make use of the language.
Oh,
Yes.
that's awesome.
Yeah, and then later, after a year, I signed up to a Japanese language school just to then a little bit do the fine tuning of pronunciation and grammar. And
Yeah. Very cool. There's so much to say for learning from people that actually speak the language, you know?
Yeah, exactly. I was rather surprised with the similarities in both languages.
Yeah.
For example, in German, we also have something like keigo, which is the polite Japanese, which also exists in German. So a lot of times when I was talking to American friends, whereas in American, no matter who you talk to, you always say you. So even though you might phrase some things different, you don't really have a whole different way of talking when you talk in a business manner, which we have in German, which we have in Japanese. And then a lot of times it's also how the grammar works or how you use your wording is also really similar, which was really surprising to me. And the biggest thing that I couldn't wrap my head around is the Japanese ne.
Oh,
So
yeah.
for example, so da ne, so desu ne. So the part I'm from in Germany, which is Franconia, or in German Franken, is famous for Fränkisch, which is the dialect that some people speak where I'm from. And we also have this ne. So for example, we would say, oh, today is really nice weather, ne? Oh, this was this and this, ne? So we kind of have this ending which has the same sound and the exact same usage in my dialect and in the Japanese language.
How fun is that?
Yeah. And I have no idea how it comes or if there's a connection. Because in my Japanese book, there's also a guy who comes from the same city as me. So I was wondering, maybe there's a connection,
Yeah.
some German dude from Franconia who went there and then brought them our way of talking. But yeah.
Yeah, or vice versa. Brought just a little Japanese. I always think of it as I grew up in Canada, and in Canada people use a as an end thing. It's very
yeah.
stereotypical in some ways, but people really do sort of oh, nice weather today. And it just means right, but it's just sort of a sound, and I kind of think of it like that.
Except for that, similarities. For me, the biggest one that's also really useful for me personally is the sounds. So while German has a lot, has a huge variety of sounds that we make while we talk, our R or the sound
Yeah.
that is so, yeah, that sounds so aggressive to so many foreigners.
It's a distinctive sound.
Yeah, that's it. But in Japanese, it's there's a really limited number of sounds in the language. And the fun thing is, all the sounds that exist in the Japanese language exist in the German language too. So while like when I learned French, I had to learn how to pronounce like to like make like the nu or like those you like to pronounce different things. It's like nouns that I didn't know how to make with my mouth. And then when I studied Japanese, I was trying to find like, oh, which is like the one thing I have to be careful of, and there wasn't any. So like all the
Really?
sounds are
Yeah, how
exactly
did you
the same.
find the like RL thing? Do you, I mean, is it different in German or what was that like for you?
So in German, also have different R's, and where I'm from, we roll our R's. So like Franconia, where I'm from, in English is Franconia, but in German we say Franken. So it's like the R is kind of more in the back, and then for example in arigato, it's kind of like the same sound. It's just the soft version of our rolling R.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's in the beginning I didn't really get the grasp of it because like I tried to learn it on English, but once I found like a German guy who was explaining the sound, I was like, oh,
Yeah,
okay,
yeah,
that's
I
so
get it.
easy.
There are some German words that are actually in the Japanese vocabulary, right? I mean, Japanese has a lot of loan words, but German in particular.
There are a lot of German words in the language, which is sometimes really funny. So I had this one experience when I was in Japan for I think 2 months and a half, and I got really sick because I wasn't used to like the disease that are around in Japan.
Yeah.
But yeah, I got really sick. I had like a huge flu and went to not the hospital, I went to the doctor's office. And of course, I was super nervous because I was like, oh, how do I say all this in Japanese? I don't know how to explain myself. And then I was looking things up on my Jisho, on my dictionary, and I put in the German word, and then out comes a Japanese word that's German. So
Yeah,
I was
there's
like,
a
this
lot of
can't be
medical
right. Yeah.
terminology that
Yeah,
overlaps,
yeah,
right?
yeah, yeah. So once Japan opened the border, so like a long time ago, Japan was really like a country that isolated itself from
Right.
everything basically. But once they opened up the country, they copied or like they were cooperating with Germany, which also led to some bad parts of history. But anyways, so
Worth saying, you know?
yeah. Yes, worth saying. But what the thing is that especially education and medicine, those two industries were copied from Germans or copied or like they got taught how to do a lot of those things. So that's why you have a lot of German terms like X-ray, which is Röntgen in German, and in English in Japanese it's Rentgen.
So when you walked in,
yeah.
you were going, I
Yeah.
think I can say this. You also found there were some similarities between German and Japanese culture when you got there, right?
Yes, yes, yes. So I heard a couple of times like before. So I used to work as a banker, so I was kind of like in economy and finance was like things that really interest me. And a lot of times I read that people would talk of Japan as the Germany of Asia, because it's kind of like Germany loves cars and Germany has like this huge car industry. Same goes for Japan. German people are famous for loving rules, sticking to rules, kind of like being not workaholics, but like taking work serious and being efficient and being punctual, being on time. And all those things are also like the image that Japanese people have in Asia. The fun thing was for me, when I moved into the share house, I had also one French and one Italian housemate. And while they both had like huge culture shocks and they got homesick, for me it was really easy because I was just like, oh, okay, this is different, but it's not so different that it would scare me off or that I would make me feel uncomfortable.
What other challenges do you feel like you faced either in learning Japanese or moving to Japan as a German or just generally?
Me personally, I like to be good at things. Like I like to do things like the right way and try to be efficient and try to be good. And of course, like anybody else, like I don't want to embarrass myself every time I open up my mouth. So it was really hard Cause like I was already in Japan and I said I'm gonna come here, and the whole idea was to come to Japan to kind of challenge myself, get out of the comfort zone, and like try to do self-improvement and see like how far I can go. But as soon as I came here and it started to get real, and all those people around me didn't speak English or German or French, and I just had to talk Japanese, and I knew I was really bad at Japanese, and most likely the people might not even understand me. So it was really challenging just to get over the hump of talking to people, and like just being ready to like make mistakes, because that was like the thing. I was afraid to make mistakes. So what I felt helped me a lot was alcohol. But what I mean was, what I used to do, one of my housemates took me to a bar like really close to where I live, and it's just like the locals. So it used to be like, I think it's usually like 10 to 20 people in there, and all people who live in the same neighborhood like us. And he was like, oh yeah, let's just have like 2 or 3 drinks, and we were drinking and talking in English. And then he just called over some of the Japanese people and said, oh, this is Carl. He just came to Japan like a week or 2 ago, and he can speak Japanese. And I was like, no, I don't. But like now that I was a little bit tipsy, so it's kind of like once you drink a little bit, you're not as hesitant, I would say.
Yeah.
So I just started talking to people, and every time like I didn't know what a word was, I just tried to like kind of like play taboo. Is it taboo in English? Like I would just the game
but
you have a
also
word.
Like charades is like
charades. That's it. Yeah, I was playing charades. So I would just be like, oh wait, how do you say basketball again? And then I would talk to the people and say like, oh yeah, me sports. I like to play. And then basketball. Hi, basketball ga suki desu. It was like a real game, and it was really fun experience. And I felt like all those words I learned in that bar are words I will never forget in my life.
And do you have any advice for other Germans or for anyone who's thinking about learning Japanese? Words of wisdom?
Yes. So, personally, I would say start off with the hardest. So, a lot of times, I think when people start studying Japanese, what they're going to find on the web or like in textbooks is that they're going to learn with Romanji, which is basically like Japanese but written in like the European or Arabic letters. And I personally think that's a really bad idea, because if you do that, you just like see Japanese words, but you're going to pronounce them with like your Latin alphabet. So like even me, like I tried to pronounce some words, oh, this looks like English, and then I tried to like put like a little bit of English accent in it, and then this I pronounce it German. So I personally think it's the best thing to just like first off learn hiragana, and like learn the sounds, because if you do that also like your pronunciation is already better from the beginning, and then hiragana, katakana, and now it's something that's really rare that usual people don't do. Before you now go to grammar and all the other stuff, I would say learn kanji. Like you take on the giant, and like I think it's like 2,000 to almost 2,100 kanji, so it's scary.
It might be 2,136. I don't know why my brain is telling me that.
This. But anyways, like just start with the kanji, because especially like in the beginning, you're really motivated. So in the beginning, while it's fun, take on the hard part, because then it's like an adventure. But if you like push it out, it just gets more scary, and you just end up not learning them. And then at the end, you are the one who suffers.
One of the most wonderful things about learning language is the new connections it lets you make, and the new people you get to talk to. And so thank you, Carl, because it's been a blast getting to talk to you about this. What else do you have going on? Where can people find you on the internet?
So currently I'm also running a YouTube channel which is called German in Japan. And except for that, I'm just trying to learn about videography, photography, because like I really like to do kind of like creative work. And I think here in Tokyo, it's like, I feel like it's a land of opportunity. There are a lot of things there where like you don't even think like, oh, I could do this. But yeah, in Tokyo you can. So yeah, just give the country a try, give the language a try, and yeah, enjoy life, have fun.
I love it. Alright, that's it for today, everybody. Thanks so much for watching this video. Don't forget to give this video a like if you liked it, and smash that subscribe button if you want to see more awesome language learning content like this. I'm Emily, this is Busuu, and I'll see you later. Bye!